Good morning. I'm Dick Latz, and I'm the moderator for this session. And our official topic is to consider music, whether it can be an effective tool for social inclusion and cohesion. My impression is that this notion of social inclusion is very fashionable at the moment, very much in the air. It's certainly part of Europe's discussion, which is probably how it got onto the agenda. And at the other end of the world, it's part of my government's policy. Even in this time of financial difficulty, I imagine that the rich continue to get richer and the poor continue to be disenfranchised. But to that reason for social exclusion, we can probably include or add the 10 or 20 million refugees who are outsiders in other people's countries, and in some cases subject to government discussion and policy making. I thought I would try to discover what somebody else other than me thought social inclusion might be, so I Googled and came up with top of the list my own country, my own government's definition, which goes as follows. In a condition of social inclusion, people would feel valued. They would have the opportunity to participate fully in the life of society. They would have the resources, opportunities, and capability to learn, work, engage, and have a voice. Learn through education and training, in particular. Work through employment or volunteer work or family caring, to engage, to connect with people and use their local community's resources, and to have a voice, to have the feeling that they can influence decisions that affect them. So I guess my question to our speakers for this panel is, does music have a special role, or is it especially effective in those things? I mean, we can learn in any number of subjects. We can work in any number of job categories. We can engage through connecting with music and using local community resources without having anything to do with music. We can have a voice. I suppose one of the reasons that there are conferences like this is that we, in music, feel that we don't have a voice or don't have a sufficient voice, so perhaps that's not particularly an area of strength for music. Anyway, in what way can music be especially effective in any of those matters? One of the ways in which we all generally acknowledge that music can be very powerful is in creating identity, whether it's personal identity or the identity of feeling that we belong to or are included in a group. You can sort of decide on your own identity by considering who you are, but in some way it's even more powerful strategy to consider what you're not. And as a speaker yesterday pointed out, the obvious example of that in all our lives is teenagers' preference for music. The preferences that they flourish in the face of their parents, who they hope hate the music that they love. The military band is not an instrument for peace. It's intended to join together the combatants on one side and hopefully to be distinguishable from the music of the combatants on the other side. So this role of music in establishing identity can be that sort of confrontational, divisive role. On the other hand, it can be a much more positive one. Celia and I met with the Director of Culture of UNESCO a few years ago, François de Rivière, and she told a story about the negotiations for peace after the war in Serbia and Croatia, where their respective foreign ministers were in negotiation and things were not going well. And at some point, one of them took it into his head to sing a folk song from the region that they shared. And it was a folk song that the other minister also knew, so he joined in. So there was this surprising sort of conjoining of something quite deep in them, and I gather that, at least for a while, negotiations proceeded on a more friendly basis. So if music has a special power, we need to use it to bring cohesion without that malign division that I was referring to. One of our speakers and I yesterday were talking about the idea of inclusion and how it might proceed to a sense of empowerment. One of the Australian government's categories, you might recall, was that people feel like they have a voice. How would people go from a sense of inclusion to one of empowerment? Gentleman speaking yesterday, I think, referred to El Sistema. With lots of children, I suppose, feeling very included in with other children learning to play in orchestras. If you're in an orchestra, you don't have much say about what have I done?
Check your German.
The ghost cursor is... So if you're in a symphony orchestra, you don't have much control about what you're playing or the manner in which you play it. That's all decided for you. At the same time, it would be a very powerful experience of social inclusion, being able to perform precisely with other people the exact notes prescribed by the score. So what in that situation, for instance, might be done to go beyond that sense of inclusion to one of empowerment? So with that, those opening remarks, I'll call on our first speaker, who is Maria del Carmen Gil. Maria is Chancellor of the Puerto Rico Conservatory since 1998. She has a master's in piano from Peabody in the US and has performed as a concert pianist across the Americas. She's the founder and president of the Latin American Association of Conservatories and Music Schools. She founded 100 times 35, and I don't know whether that's how you actually say the title, the Puerto Rican El Sistema program. She has been voted Woman of the Year and several times received a Women in Leadership Award in Puerto Rico. Maria del Carmen Gil.
Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here, and I thank the IMC board for making possible this presentation of our project to all of you. A project which Puerto Rico is very proud of, a very young project, and that precisely portrays what we feel about inclusion and how the empowerment of children and youth and their families, particularly with regards to underprivileged children and in different realms of society. I will let you see a little bit of what, right here, the feeling of Música 100 por 35. What does it mean, Música 100 por 35? 100 por 35 or 100 times 35 are the measurements of the geographical area of Puerto Rico. And what it means is music for all Puerto Rico. So it's our Sistema, incorporation of the Sistema project to our island.
Ok, muy bien. Ahora vamos a hacer esto. En corcheas, vamos.
De ciencia política, de medicina, de biología, de arquitectura.
Tengo 13 y toco el cello. Tengo 11 y toco fagot. Tengo 14 y toco la trompeta. Tengo 12 y toco clarinete. Yo toco el violín. Yo toco la trompeta. Trombón. Es muy divertido y podemos hacer muchas cosas, aprender más cosas de música. Estamos aprendiendo una canción para el concierto el 26.
Dos, y... Ok, vamos. Otra vez. Perdón. Vamos. 1, 2, 1, 2.
This is just a glimpse of just a year's work. Our program started last year, and we're very proud to share the results, which have been quite impressive for such a short period of time. As I mentioned, well, this is a project that aims to cover Puerto Rico in its wide geographical area of 100 times 35 with music and access to music education for all children and youth as a seedling for hope. The project is housed within the Puerto Rico Conservatory of Music, which is an unusual setting for social projects. I think it may be, and I don't want to say it categorically, but it may be the only institution of its kind that houses not only higher education programs at the graduate and undergraduate level, preparatory programs and pre-college programs for youngsters and the community at large, as well as social programs. It's quite a challenge to do so, and I will share some of those stories. But yesterday we attended one of the sessions where precisely the conservatories, the Association of European Conservatories, presented the role of music education institutions and conservatories within the social context. And definitely, I think personally, it's something that I believe very strongly in, that programs need to be not separate, but need to be inclusion, the inclusion of the concept of music education. It's not something that we have to put out of the traditional setting of the forums for conservatories and music schools. On the contrary, I think it is our social responsibility as institutions to work for our countries in all sectors and provide access not only to those who are already formed or talented enough to be part of our programs, but to the community at large. So, Música 135 is an exercise of using music and creativity as instruments of social change for Puerto Rico's children and youth. I've already explained a little bit of the conservatory context, and it's been a personal quest to transform my institution from a very traditional European-type conservatory, much to the liking of lots of our similar institutions, into a different institution. This has been quite challenging, as I was mentioning yesterday in a participation, to convince constituents, internal constituents, that this is a role that we must take. And Música 135 is not the only social program that the conservatory has. It has many others, and I will mention them at the end. But we will only discuss this one in this session. It was created as our initiatives and based on the Venezuela en el Sistema program. In 2010, we signed a collaborative agreement with the Venezuela en el Sistema program, and shortly afterwards, we began the program with 125 children. It's important to speak about the social and political context, because I think that these programs need to consider, in order for them to develop and thrive, what's the setting in society. So basically, at that same time, we had been working on the initiation of the program and getting it started and getting the agreement going with Venezuela. And Puerto Rico's social reality can be summarized by the governor's state address to the Puerto Rican legislature, where expressly said we have been reaching a consensus in Puerto Rico that beyond the drug-related criminal incidents, the very alarming violent death rate is caused by a worsening of social structure, and as such, we need to address the fundamental roots of the problem, which is something we can all share. Crime and drug and violence is in all of society. So the governor's response to this program is the social transformation and improvement model, and Música 135 happened to join or to occur at a fertile time where we're fortunate to have a governor who is very supportive of the arts. And when we presented the model, immediately we connected it, of course, to prevention, which is specifically one of the things that this model addresses, the emphasis on prevention through healthy lifestyles for youth. And through different means and programs, he says we must support the development of improved self-esteem, as well as the personal values that are so much in the need among our children. So Música 135 has turned into a flagship project of the social transformation model of the current governor and in Puerto Rico. It's an island-wide systemic prevention, social transformation, music education initiative that targets primarily on high-poverty communities and public housing projects which aim to make music education available to socially and economically disadvantaged children and youth. The conservatory setting is very interesting in this manner because we, although we have housed in different cities in the island, the program, and the capital city of San Juan, the program coexist with the rest of the programs. So children are not separated, and we don't teach them in a different place. We teach them where everybody else is. So it's social inclusion. So children who are from wealthy families can also share time, and we're working on we have combined their talents in a major orchestral initiative at the youth area, where all children, poor or not poor, share stages together. And I think that social inclusion is precisely that. It's not separating or segregating, but really integrating all aspects of society in a philosophy that everyone can and everyone can be included. So the guiding principles are music to improve oneself, music as a motivational tool, music to dignify the person, and to unite, to create a sense of community. The sense of community is very important because these children come from different sectors of society, and they come from communities who are sometimes even at war with each other. The public housing setting at the Puerto Rico, in Puerto Rico, can be a very violent place, much like it happens also, I think, in the States. So Música 135 aims to foster productive and constructive use of their leisure time so that positive activities are substitute that leisure time where they are very much at risk of becoming prey of delictive situations, providing a new prospective cultural occupational opportunities. This is why we, in one of the principles, we mention it, music to progress, music to advance oneself, music as an alternative to becoming a part of society in a positive way in your professional future. Actively motivates participants to remain in school, and we will tell you some stories, and achieve academic progress, and it serves as an invaluable strategy for prevention of drug and crime among these risk populations. As I mentioned before, well, this already was stated, the conservatory unique setting of housing all programs within one structure is quite unique. And we are definitely very concerned with making this innovative experiment work as a model for music education in the future. You will see students playing violin in these and in an orchestral setting, and certainly the ensemble concept, which comes from the Venezuela en el Sistema, using the traditional orchestra and choral settings, is not exclusive of what we do. We also integrate other traditional instruments and the folkloric music of Puerto Rico, not only European classical music. So we have a setting in which we also aim to create, and of course this is in an initial stage, like I mentioned, it's just a year old, where students can also create their own instruments, and much to root what are countries' heritage, musical heritage and traditions are. So in this first year, we've reached over 900 children in several cities, and you will see this is the 135 map of Puerto Rico. The legal structure, as I mentioned, it operates as an umbrella, under the umbrella of the conservatory, but a very important additional goal that we've attained, we're very happy to report that legislation has been created and already has been approved by Senate to create Música por 135 as a permanent project for Puerto Rico, not just a programmatic, incidental program within my administration or the current governor's administration, but it will to live perpetually and guarantee its continuation and existence. So I think it's very important that we achieve these things, because this provides access to music education for the community at large. And this is the massification of the access of music education is the central pivot of these social programs, because we have music programs in our cities and countries, but access to all of the children and youth is not guaranteed. So this is what it's an important platform for and an important initiative for Puerto Rico to be able to, as Venezuela has, over time, and Venezuela, we must say, is over 35 years old as a program. We are only 1 year old, and we're happy to report that we've already set the base, the roots for this program to continue and be part of Puerto Rican life for many years to come. Social transformation doesn't occur in 1 year, in 1 month. It occurs over time, because you are planting seeds in those children and youth so that they thrive as a new society. You're building people, and building people takes time. Transformation takes time. So this is why the guaranteeing that it will not be a project, or a fly-by-night kind of thing. It will be a permanent thing. Will set the basis for a deep transformation in society. So we can really change those statistics long range so that we can really alter what the society is telling us in the current state by building a new model. So the target population that we're attending are children and youth in public housing projects, and in terms of public housing, Puerto Rico is the second largest jurisdiction in the United States, with over 300 public housing projects and over 65,000 housing units. Approximately 14% of the residents are children and youth, and by definition, all public housing project residents are low income. The research conducted in Puerto Rico in 2004 also found that the most pervasive levels of poverty were concentrated in more than 600 governmental designated special communities of Puerto Rico. Among their residents, unemployment is one of the most critical concerns, along with drug abuse, lack of safety, and high incidence of crime. 90% of the residents of those communities surveyed in sample expressed that the need for these type of cultural activities as one of the 5 priorities, and more prevention programs for their children and youth. Facilities is one of the things to spread this program 100 times 35. So we have also been able to put in place a collaborative agreement with the Department of Education of Puerto Rico to use any and all public schools in Puerto Rico as a space to set the program. And majors in the cities are also supporting the program, providing municipal facilities and other financial support for to house program activities. So this Música 135 is a model alliance collaborative project led by a music conservatory, modeled, as I mentioned, on El Sistema, with key supporters in the primary figures of Puerto Rico politics, with the governor and the office of, or the first lady, who's the godmother to the project, and the Puerto Rican Legislative Assemblies. As I mentioned, the facilities are by the Department of Education, and all these people support financially the program, which is one of the strategies that we've set forth. And I may mention that this, now that you put it in a list, you say, well, oh, this is cool. It's kind of like, but you must imagine how complicated it is to set forth all these collaborations. And I think that, I deliberately mention them because I want to incentive our audience to creatively think on how to do it in your cities and in your countries. I mean, you have different political and realities and different settings, but I think we all have similar situation and similar context where we can tap into resources, because this, as far as resources is concerned, which is one of the major hurdles to the developing of these programs, these are not housed in the cultural ministries, or in our case, these are housed in the social programs of the state, and this is how the Venezuelan project has thrived. It has not attained its funding from the ministries of culture or the Department of or education. It has attained its monies, well, we saw this morning from large loans, but those have come later, but they have achieved this through housing, social affairs, family, and all the prevention programs that are set into society, and that we all have those. We may have more, we may have less funding available, but there is that target audience there as far as supporting the program. So we have a financial support In 1 year, we already have a budget close to $5 million and to institute this program, and we have had also, with the creation of the law, a permanent allocation set for the program from the government of Puerto Rico, and the mandate of the governor for all the financial, all the departments of the Puerto Rico government that do have social programs to put forth fundings that they can support these programs. This is not that they just give them to me. This is something you have to work on. You have to write proposals. You have to do your due diligence. You have to show outcomes and results. So there is something that you get the money, but you have to show the product. So, yes. These major achievements and collaborations are possible by aligning it with governmental priorities, and I'll just pass this really fast. As you see, it aligns with Puerto Rico Public Housing Administration, the Family Affairs Department, the special communities. And the program's educational philosophies is that students learn music through daily group sessions and instrument and ensemble playing, and a learning by doing constructive type educational approach, using the ensemble, instrumental ensembles and choral formats to perform and learn about music, classical, popular, folkloric music that they make themselves, that they compose themselves from instruments that they build themselves with a very rudimentary equipment. Despertar Musical, which is another musical initiative that we have set in place that already existed, is a music education pedagogy for children that is the platform for the development of musical skills. And the kids meet every day, 6 days a week, after school, so we are using all their after-school time, not as free time, but as productive time. These are the ages that we cover. We have a qualified roster of teachers, and one of the interesting things that is happening is that we are creating employment for our students who graduate from the conservatory programs and now have an ample setting where they can apply their skills and get jobs, which of course in our music field jobs are scarce, and you know this so we are turning into a program that it's feeding the prospective musicians with their jobs at the end of their career. We have psychological and social support. And we have a very unique thing, which is not part of the Venezuelan model, but it's a Puerto Rican modulation in which we believe that mind, body, and spirit are part of the transformation. So there is a daily routine that all children in all the music centers, in all the teaching centers that we have, do, which is a daily meditation, just a little minute of time, and the discussion of moral and spiritual values. This is an example of daily meditations that we write for them every day, using precisely what they do when we play an instrument. We're creating pleasant and positive experiences, and you can read the rest of them yourself, but the spirit is for students, for children, to not only be engaged in musical activity, but to have the opportunity within the setting that we create to be able to have positive experiences. And remember that some of these children are not exposed to very positive experiences, and their homes are war zones, literally. Some of those public housing projects, kids need to sleep on the floor because they could be hit by bullets of the gangs fighting at night. So this is a very violent and tense atmosphere. So with these efforts, we aim to also plant spiritual seeds that will also transform, and these are two examples of them. And we also do parent workshops to improve things like self-esteem and to approach from a more holistic point of view. So as you see, it's a very far-encompassing initiative, which has been aligned to the public policy purposes and to federal priorities. I will pass very, very fast through these. And results? Okay. Let me just wrap it up. So these are very concrete, and we have testimonies of parents who have been already touched by these, and these are by what's happening. And these are other action projects that the conservatory is also housing in its social commitment. We thank you for the opportunity of sharing this.
Thank you, Maria, for a description of a really inspiring and exemplary program. Our next speaker is Doug Franzen. Doug has had a long association with the IMC. He was treasurer in some stormy years, and he has vast experience in international cooperation and project initiation and development. He was Secretary General of Jeunesse Musicale International from 1994 to 2008. Thank you. He headed cultural development and NGO Music Crossroads International. He headed the beginning of Music Crossroads, I think, under Jeunesse Musicale, and is now separately managing cultural development NGO called Music Crossroads International, based in Barcelona. Doug Franzen.
Hello, everybody, and I'm happy to be here in front of you. I want to actually, I will tell you a story, but not through myself, but with the help of a film here. But I need to put you into the context. You know that the conditions for young people across the world are very, very different. And also when it comes to young people and music and to build a professional career, these conditions are very, very different in different parts of the world. The Music Crossroads program started in 1996 in Zimbabwe, moved on to, included in 1997 Mozambique, in 1999 Malawi, in 2000 Tanzania, and in 2003 Zambia. These are the 5 target countries we are working in. In these countries exists practically no music education. The only education that actually exists, there are two exceptions, of course, but hardly working though. The only education that exists is for teachers training, for teachers for primary and secondary school, primary school. And for the rest, there is nothing like that. There are no training for professional musicians, there are no training for instrumental teachers. And at the same time, these countries are so rich in musical traditions. Each of these countries have at least 60 different languages. Tanzania has 125 different languages, which means that they have 60 to 125 different musical cultures. to choose from, to pick inspiration from, rhythms, instruments, melodies. It's a richness we living in Europe can hardly understand. So there is so much potential here. I think our issue now is to bring that awareness also to the political leaders of these countries, that music is indeed a big potential to develop. Music Crossroads has, in these 5 countries, we reach every year about 5,000 musicians in musical trainings, instrument vocational workshops, workshops on music business, self-management, music rights, where, for instance, Burak, who was here before, who was sitting there, has been very helpful. We have done a special manual for young people when it comes to music rights. And and of these young people, we have in each of the countries, we have a national training center, and we do in total in the 5 countries 40 festivals per year, which is about 2.5 to 3 days of workshops, where we also include what we call relationship workshops that is there to deal with important life skills issues such as HIV/AIDS prevention, gender equality, healthy lifestyles. All these things are crucial for musicians everywhere, and certainly also in these 5 countries. In any case, so that is the sort of setting where we are coming into. I will show you snippets from a film made by a French-Belgian team and about a group called Mokomba. Mokomba were the winners. Yeah, I have to explain that about our structure. In the 5 countries, we do 34 local festivals in different provinces, trying to cover as much land as much area as possible. And after these 2.5, 3 days of workshop, there is an ending concert where we also have a jury, and the best bands proceed to a national festival, which is done some weeks later. And again, training on a slightly higher level, more focused on professional issues, which ends with a concert and 2 bands that goes to an interregional festival, where musicians from the 5 countries actually are competing for different prizes. But not only that, they are also meeting bands coming from Europe and from other countries of Africa, coming in as so. It is a peak moment in itself, and that I think I can say to Richard's question. I think music probably is the ideal medium for bringing young people into society and to give them a role, to give them self-respect. Because if you don't have self-respect, you cannot show respect to others, because you don't know what it is. You need self-awareness. You need to understand that little me, I actually have a value. I can do something on stage that I see an audience like to see. These are peak moments in young people's life. Whether then they will deal with music or not, that's another issue. But they will always carry that peak moment with them. And so I think music is a very good starting point. Well, enough speaking now. I will try to take myself to... So this is about Mokomba. Mokomba is a band from Vic Falls in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is today, as far as I know, the poorest country on earth, also because of the fall of the Zim dollar. So people live there on a year on $200 per capita. It is also a country with a heavy political oppression, as you know, and a country with a very high HIV/AIDS rate. Another reason why what we are doing is very important there. What I didn't mention is also that we do also songwriting workshops where we emphasize, for instance, the importance of lyrics. We call them songs for life. And where we spread via local media and so on, we spread these songs, which has a message on HIV/AIDS or education or something important in the life of these people. Therefore, we reach much more people, of course. Okay, so Mokomba. the amazing thing when you hear the bands, the best bands that we have, and they are so good musicians, but none of them own an instrument. That's why you will see Mokomba performing in a church, because that's the only way they can get hold of instruments. Then they can borrow the instruments and go to gigs. So to be a young musician in Africa is very, very difficult, because actually the physical instruments are not there. Luckily, we are striking a deal with Yamaha now, and they will help us to equip our centers and also provide PA systems in the 5 countries. Okay, now let's see if I can do this. Where do I? Can you help me? I need to get to 6:40. Thank you. 6. Thank you. That was much easier. That's good. Okay. And we work also with the families of and the local communities, because in many parts where we work, young people going into music is not regarded as a good activity. It's because it had ancient links with, well, drugs, alcohol, prostitution. Well, you probably, these arguments are not totally specific for Africa for sure, but also for young musicians of certain music styles across the world. And I didn't say that Music Crosses is open to all styles of music, but over the 15 years we've been working with it, we go towards more Afrofusion, Afropop, because that's where the bands can go out afterwards and earn some income by playing. So, I mean, deplorable as it is that they play that we have less traditional, authentic, indigenous bands, it is that they actually have changed over time and go towards something they can actually live from later on. It's a level of professionalization. Okay, so here comes a snippet from this movie, Mokomba. Mokomba they won the IRF, and thereby they got 1 year of training on the spot in Zimbabwe. So we had a trainer that worked with them 3 times 10 days, hard work, and then recorded a CD for sale on the European tour, and then also putting them into the social context of Europe. I mean, helping them to develop good performance, but also the social context, because it's different. And I will not go into that, it takes too long time. Now let's check the movie ourselves and get to know a little bit about Mokomba and about what their problems are as young musicians in Africa.
If you're a musician, there are some people, they can't even realize that you are a person, because we can't even afford to buy bread, to buy anything to eat and stuff. You see artists struggling on the streets, playing, making some jam session, putting a small packet maybe for donation, just something like that.
You perform and get money and buy food from hand to mouth. For now, maybe later, maybe. Yeah.
As you get big.
Yeah, as you get big and bigger, people get to know us better, you know. For now.
I just wanted to share with you some information. As you know, we are facing some challenges with your visa, with you obtaining the visas. So this means that you won't be able to see your parents when we go and see them tomorrow with us. But I want to assure you that you are in safe hands. Music Crossroads is going to look after you, especially the issue of the visas. You will definitely, at the end of the day, get them. Anyway, have you seen your performance program? Yeah. Something like 60 or 70 something shows. But still you'll be expected to perform your last show the same energy as the first show. I know you will do that.
I also need to advise you on something. What have you planned to do with your income generated from the tour trust? What have you planned to do with the money?
Yeah,
trust.
You just you have to try to invest on anything. You not have to invest in music only, like studios, and you can open up a shop or.
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do?
For me, I'm still working on it.
Yeah, you know why I'm asking this question is because you don't have to just go there without any plan. One, and two, because I know when you get the money, you start spending on buying food and clothes. And
they are still
you
young.
are going to be fed, but you still need.
They will definitely because they are still young.
Myself, with my money, I want to buy my own instrument. My own guitar and my own comp, and then I want to also open maybe a small studio. I guess we share the same vision with Donald. I just want to open my small studio. Then half of the money I'll bring it back home to my parents. That's my vision.
I want to finish my house first.
You want to finish your house?
Yeah. So the other thing I was planning to open up, maybe let's say a movie house. There are no movie houses in the course.
Yeah.
So I was trying to maybe if I get a projector. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, with that we find an elephant you here doing my pocket. Because that's what the English when they come to me, because that's what the couples that the elephant one. Yes, to make it easy, but the car is not elected. So I'm gonna change. But you got to Google with some of the vegetables line one. The line on the people come and buy the vegetables, chicken, nothing to do, but that's what the car got, so it's expensive. So nothing to do.
Are you serious?
Very 100% Jesus to Christ. Very 100%.
Baba wana masimba ose msara Jesu baba ndinongotuma vanakomana baba pamberi penyu mai varangarirei baba vari mukati mebasa renyu vanotoda ruoko rwenyu rwerudyi Jehovha musavasiye vari voga Mwari rangarirai zvakanaka Mwari zvavanokubatirai rangarirai basa renyu Mwari ravanoita musavasiye vari voga Mwari vakafamba vari voga vangafambire pasina ndakumbira zvavari kuita zvitungamirirwe naMweya Mutsvene ndakumasikati baba ndinokumbira shungu yemoto manheru Mwari vangu vatungamirire vana vadiki vanoita basa renyu shuwa masimba sevarangarirei ndinongodzorera mbiro sekwamuri muzita raJesu amen.
C'est en empruntant leurs instruments aux églises de Vic Falls Town, leur ville natale, que les Mokumba ont commencé à jouer. Pour l'heure, ils doivent rester à Harare dans l'attente de leur visa.
Yes, so we have to shorten a bit here because otherwise we go too far. We will see the end. So you see, they had a tour, 60, 70 gigs. We had organized in 9 or 10 European countries. And everything went well. Contracts were signed and everything. And 2 days before departure, their visa was denied. The visa issue is a big issue when you speak about mobility between Africa and Europe, also Latin America for sure. I mean, Lupuishi didn't show up here, and that does not surprise me at all. The reasons for why visas are given and not given are absolutely incomprehensible and different from country to country. And so this was, of course, a catastrophe for us as an organization, as we had to cancel and pay back prepaid travels and so on for the different organizers. But for the band, it was a complete disaster. All the hopes that had built up from these fantastic, talented young musicians. Finally, we find a solution, and believe it or not, it was the European Union who actually offered that solution. So the band could come and play at the European Development Days, but instead of in the middle of festival summer, it was in November in Stockholm. And all world music festivals were, of course, not there any longer. So it became a very small tour with a few, gigs in different places. So I will just show you a little bit of that and what happened in the end. So that means that the band's income became like, what, maybe a fifth or a sixth of what they would have earned on a full tour. And of course, what they were planning to buy and do with their lives afterwards, that changed. It will come in the end here. So off light, please, we take the little ending here. No, so I tell you the ending. So the ending is Matthias Musasa, the fantastic singer of the band, he went home and he started a chicken coop. So he bought chickens. And Koster, he had bought himself a PC projector in Stockholm. And so he was showing film in Vic Falls with a PC projector. So this is what the last things are about. Other band members, they invested in shops with baby clothes, with a sister, and so on and so forth. Now, that was what happened with this fantastic tour, thanks to Europe's, what should I say, the resistance or the unwillingness of with mobility and exchange with other continents. And, but I also have to say that the year after, they went back for a big tour in Europe, and they are now under management, so they will be back in Europe in 2012 again. So that is a story about Mokomba and a little bit about the challenges we meet in our everyday life with Music Crossroads. If you want more information on Music Crossroads, I have something there. Otherwise, speak to me. Thank you very much.
Would be nice to have an hour on each of these, but social exclusion at work in Europe. So, questions and discussion. Yes?
There is a mic here.
I think you can hear me now.
Yeah.
It's being recorded.
Hello? Hello?
Inini ndinonzi Sekuru Robert. Ndabva kuZimbabwe. Ndakagara kuZimbabwe kuva kudhara. I'm speaking the language that that lady spoke when she was praying for the group, the Shona language. In Zimbabwe, there are not 60 languages. There are about 5 or 6 perhaps. It is not the poorest country in the world. I've worked in arts education in Zimbabwe with people from all backgrounds, young people and children, very similar to the young people that we've seen. We founded an organization called Chipao. We know Music Crossroads. We don't know the Music Crossroads Center. We also deal with the Zimbabwe College of Music, which in fact does train people in music, does train teachers in music, and has been doing for many, many years, both in European classical music and also in Zimbabwean music. The person who was, I'm sorry to say, failing to give them any advice about how to plan what to do with their earnings is someone called Mlalazi. Mlalazi uvela wabulawayo ukhulumisa Ndebele. I speak in Ndebele. I worked with him in Zatsip, which was the Asitej branch of Zimbabwe, and Asitej as well had a lot of arts education. So I just thought that the image of Zimbabwe, we have very, very famous singers, all of them Tukudzi, Thomas Mapfumo. We have hundreds of bands, all extremely well equipped with instruments, who perform all over the country. So I just wanted to, as I am South African, but I've lived in Zimbabwe for 35 years. I felt out of loyalty to my country, I had to make some slight strategic suggestions about the kind of version we had. I'm sure Music Crossroads is doing a lot of good, and we have wanted to work with them, with our young people. We train young people in marimba, mbira, and we would like to be able to train them also in electrified instruments. And we have talked to Crossroads, Music Crossroads in Zimbabwe, and we hope that one day we'll do that. But please, life is about different sides to a situation, and perhaps between the two lies something closer to the truth. Thanks very much.
You want to respond?
Yeah, no, the facts I have on Zimbabwe is from the CIA fact book. So that is
For sure, there are always. Which CIA fact book sounds like a strange place to find information, but that is the place where you find normally the most correct information on different countries, at least when it comes to GDP per capita and so on. And I fully agree with you that Zimbabwe is also a beautiful country, and it was not my intention to paint it black, but to explain some of the hardships that many of our young bands have. On the equipment side, I do not fully agree with you, but because for young musicians, it is very hard, and I know that from many, many bands from Zimbabwe. But there are also fantastic musicians, and there are opportunities. However, there is a long way to go to help these people into a professional setting. That is a challenge. Thank you.
Another question or comment? Yes.
I'd just like to comment very briefly on the visa situation. As someone who's worked in the music industry for a very long time, we know the difficulties of going into the United States, and the difficulties of musicians, particularly from the African nations coming into Europe, has not been given the same publicity. And I think it's time that members of IMC, EMC ensured that we speak with one voice on this very, very important issue. It's not enough that we, as members in our individual countries, make representation, which we do on behalf of our own musicians. And many of the great international festivals, for example, the Edinburgh International Festival, are visa-free, but still restrict certain countries who are not on the visa-free list. And that, of course, includes China, India, and many others. So I think it's an area for future Congress business that IMC, EMC pay real focused attention on this single issue.
I note that at the last assembly 2 years ago, we had representation from FreeMuse, a Copenhagen-based organisation, and they were on about that very issue. So apparently it didn't improve subsequently, but they had an advocacy campaign underway. Yes, Phil.
Just two, thank you very much. 2 points not connected with this last speaker, but connected with the broader topic here today of social inclusion. And I suppose my first question to everybody here really who's developing social inclusion programs, the idea is that they're to include everyone in a sense. And I suppose kind of asking for a critical reflection on who is included within your social inclusion programs and who is excluded from those. And within that, I'll just highlight very briefly, three particular populations, as it were, that we in England were quite concerned with and found that they came under this tag of hard to reach. And we discovered that they were hard to reach in some cases because they are literally hard to reach. So for instance, children in state care, these are children who are with foster parents or in institutions such as that. To actually work in a room with those children, we discovered in some of our programs, we had to have 32 separate sign-offs from different adults, who were working with those kids. So that was quite a big issue with that group. So the question of how far do you go to make it totally inclusive. Two other populations I'll mention but won't tag with that on is people with severe and profound disabilities. So these are people without the same type of cognition or volition that we would have, and whether they are included in programs which would often imply a change in the pedagogy and methodology, substantial changes there. So that would be the second. And then the final group, obviously people suffering from dementia. I could go on, but the underlying point I'm saying is that if we want to include, it's quite a long, hard struggle to get to the people, and then we must critically assess and refresh our methodologies all the time. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks. Someone else?
I just wanted to briefly comment on that, and with regards to our program, the group of children who are in foster homes are part of the initiative as well through the Family Affairs Department. They are sponsoring a group of children to that effect. We are also going to develop, and this is also, I don't know if you know this, this part of the Venezuelan model, it's more in the choral aspect, which is the Coro de Manos Blancas, which is for children with disabilities. We are integrating children with disabilities in our program. They do require special assistance, special attention, but we are including them in that vision that they all need the same access, and they need to be included. And I wasn't able to tell one of the stories. We precisely have one very challenged 10-year-old who started in our pilot program, who had several conditions, and after only 6 months in our program, the mother came crying to me, and she said, you know, my child couldn't dress himself, was taking lots of medication, was flunking school, and only after 6 months of this program, he's been taken off most medications, only has one medication. He is fully capable of dressing himself, and he has passing grades. So it's a proof that if you do include them, they thrive, and we all know the value of music as to developing, you know, and I think that we must. It's not an option. We must include. That requires the resources and the special people that are trained to do that, but we must include them.
Yeah, okay. If I may just firstly pick up on working with children in foster care. I don't mean this as blatant self-publicity, but I am doing a project presentation on that at 4:30, called Fostering a Love of Music. But what I wanted to ask was about the Crossroads project, and if girls are involved as well.
As much as it is possible, because that is how, especially when it comes to young women, because in the countries where we are active, women are not supposed to have a leading role in music. At best, they should do backing vocals or sexy dancing, and preferably they shouldn't be there at all, because like in Zimbabwe, and I'm sure my friend here will probably oppose me, but in Zimbabwe there was a history of women performing music that was linked directly with prostitution. So for parents and for local communities, girls in music is not a good thing, and while we are working for it, because we see in the global music industry, girls have a lot of chances. Therefore, we need to work closely with the parents. So since the festivals are going on for 2-3 days, we use parents to be in to assist with the food and the accommodation, control, and so on, and so that to keep parents as involved as possible. Not within the competition and concert part, but the rest.
I have a question, Doug. The way you began by describing the music and the culture there, it sounds, I mean, there's no education, but the music is rich and thriving, you're saying. So
that's, hold
on.
I said so.
May I speak?
Yeah.
I've been waiting to speak. Just 2 small points, and they're related to the access that is developing here. The first thing I'd like to say, which was going to be the second, but is inspired by this conversation that's going on, the first thing of 2, is that I come, as well as my brother does, from that part of the world. And all the countries you describe, and I'm saying this positively, in support of what you're doing. However, I'd like to just educate us all about something that is the issue that's
at stake here, which is that in my talk yesterday, which some of you may not have experienced, I used two words, one of which is the root of the other, and he will know them. I used the word ngoma, which is music and many other things. It's divine healing energy, it's anthem, it's drum, and etc., etc. Dance, the word ngoma, it unifies all those because where I'm coming from, the compartmentalization that is prevalent in the West pre-colonially did not exist like that. And in many areas, that is still the strong center of our cultures, which takes in the 5 places you work in. The second word is sangoma, and he will know it as well. And that is the healer but through divination. Most of the sangomas happen to be women. They are men and women, but to answer the question about why there are no women, or whatever your question was. So in reality, music, which is part of that word and part of the spirituality of healing and all that, is the domain mostly of the women, mostly, not exclusively. However, when we make the transition into contemporary urban sort of paradigms, for reasons that I don't need to go into, you all know that better than I would venture to suggest that I know. Things change, and I don't necessarily want to talk about that, and that is one of the explanations. There may be others. My second point is that the discussion that preceded the question, where my brother said one thing that was in contradistinction to your facts or your statistics, that is bound to happen, but in keeping with the theme of the discussion today, the two words that I'm hearing spoken about are inclusion and cohesion. Those two words for me inspire me to propose that what is lacking sometimes in this work that we do, all of us, is a creative, forward-looking dialogue. And when you hinted that the truth possibly lies somewhere between, we should go to that place where we can have this dialogue openly, because nobody possesses the answers completely. Thank you.
I fully agree on that. I can also tell to my friends that if you're interested, we made research on the 5 countries on what exists in terms of music education and how that is related to music industries in the 5 countries. We carried that out last year. And it is true that you have a college of music that used to be a fantastic institution, unique institution in Southern Africa. But due to the financial situation today, it doesn't function properly. So I want to make that distinction.
Another comment, question. Okay.
I promise this is not a controversial question. So, okay. Do you know of any other conservatories in the US that may be using your model or the Venezuelan model as a start for social inclusion for inner city kids particularly? So I'm thinking about big places like Julia Romanes or Manhattan School.
No, I think that New England Conservatory has the Abreu Fellows, which are an initiative to train music students or professional musicians who want to start social programs in communities, because this is quite an entrepreneurial initiative. And that's the only program that I know it's sponsored by an institution such as ourselves, but they do not themselves have a community, a social program.
Thanks.
Last question or comment.
Gretchen Amuson, Paris Conservatoire. To answer this question about programs in the United States, somebody just asked this question. There is a program that is linked to Bard College, and the woman's name is just escaping me, but she was at Berkeley College for a long time, and they've got a very close link to El Sistema. But I'm using this forum as a little publicity moment for the Association of European Conservatoires, and we're having our Congress in Valencia in November with a thematic day on the musician in society. And for those of you who are interested, we will have a presentation by a very, very interesting project in Brazil, a GURI project in Sao Paulo, which is different from El Sistema, and I think also very valid for different reasons. So I would just encourage you to come, and we will be addressing many of the issues that have been brought up here together with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. We'll finish in a moment, but Henrik wants to make an announcement.
If I could just, on a other note, reinforce the earlier household announcement that was made. At 4:30 this afternoon, we have the new African Voices session, and it's going to be in the Bonnie and Clyde discotheque. You're not required to dance, but you might want to. Dudu Saar, say hello, Dudu. Will be guiding the dialogue between not Jussi today, sorry, Carlu and Susanna, and they will also be singing and performing. So, no offense to Scotland, just making everybody sure that they know where to go at 4:30 downstairs.
Okay, well, I thank our speakers. We need to wrap up now. Intensely interesting discussion, and one that we'll all continue later. Thanks to both of you.